Unsung Murder Ballads discusses topics of a graphic nature and in graphic detail and may not be suitable for children under the age of 13. Listener discretion is advised. All right, welcome back to Unsung Murder Ballads. This is episode 21. I am Janus Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
All right, so before we get started, I believe we have a shout out to do.
Yeah, I just wanted to send a shout out to Millennium Angel on Instagram, who has been so very kind to me and given us great suggestions for the podcast. We super appreciate the feedback. Please, everyone else, our listeners, engage with us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. We love to hear your reactions. I know you're listening to ours, but I want to know what you guys are feeling as you're hearing all this crazy shit go down on the podcast. So yeah, shout out Millennium Angel. We love you. You're my favorite fan right now.
Yes, definitely our favorite listener. Your
Yes.
responses, every time you post, if Joyous hasn't seen it, I literally screenshot it and send it to her. So
Yes.
Keep them
It's
coming.
great. Yes.
We love
keep it
hearing
coming.
everything, guys.
all right, so this week we are going to be covering an interesting case, but we're gonna I kind of like what we did last week. We're starting off. I want to tease things a little bit when we start.
All right, cool.
So what we're going to do right now is I want you to imagine that you just got a call from your wife that she just gave birth, but she
Okay.
doesn't need you to pick her up at the hospital or go to even go to the hospital. She needs
Okay.
you to pick her up at a Long John Silver's.
What?
Yep.
Oh, my wife
Um,
calls me with stuff like this all the time.
I'm sure she does. I mean,
What?
she probably always stops at the Long John Silver's.
Yeah, every time that she's pregnant, man, she's pregnant so much.
Well, it's good
What?
to hear. So yeah, that's the tease for this episode.
Oh,
So-
this is gonna be wacky. I can just feel it.
Yes, this is a bizarre one to say the least. But I just can't imagine someone calling and saying, "Hey, I just gave birth to our baby, but I need you to pick me up at the Long John Silver's." Like, I actually have a friend of mine who gave birth on the way to the hospital. They literally had to pull the car over.
No, really?
And
Oh my
yes,
god.
Damn.
And the funny part is it was on a street called Canal Street. So now we all jokingly call it Birth Canal Street.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So that's a true story, as is this. So with that teaser in mind, here we go. Bobbi Jo Stinnett was born on December 4th, 1981. She graduated from Nottoway Holt High School in Graham, Missouri in 2000. She married her high school sweetheart Zeb, and the young couple was expecting their first child. She also had a part-time job at a Kawasaki Motors nearby, like it was like a manufacturing plant, not like a dealership. But Bobbi Jo's passion was actually raising dogs. Most of her free time was spent raising rat terriers and entering them into dog show events.
Oh, we're setting this off wacky.
I told you.
Well, first off,
Universe
the
vibes are
names
wacky.
here.
What's that?
The names, Bobbi Jo and Zeb. What?
Well, and they're not even deep Southern. They're Missouri.
I know, but like that just screams trailer trash.
Oh my
But they're
God.
not.
I
But they're
I
not.
I
I
know,
was thinking
but
it
like
sounded like oldie timey for like the 80s.
Oh, the 80s are oldie timey. I was
No, I
thinking,
mean this sounds too old timey for the 80s. Not that the 80s are old.
no, but this part of it is in 2000.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, they got married in 2000. That's when they graduated. And most of this is taking place in 2004. So they're probably named after grandparents or something like that.
Makes sense.
So the soon-to-be mom was also active in online forums for rat terrier dogs, and particularly a group called Ratter Chatter.
Stop.
no, that can't be real.
I'm dying. This is great.
Stinnett and her husband ran a dog breeding business called Happy Haven Farms from their residence in Skidmore. I'm assuming Missouri. It didn't have any other information, but since they're from Missouri, I'm going to assume Missouri.
That tracks.
Stinnett had met and befriended a woman named Darlene Fisher through dog show events and had ongoing interactions on the Ratter Chatter chat room, and they became friends. Like they were becoming closer and closer. Fisher informed Stinnett that she was also pregnant, leading to the two women to begin exchanging emails online and basically about their pregnancies and comparing notes and just becoming friends because now they have two things in common: the rat terriers and their pregnancy.
Best of friends.
Match made in heaven, right? I know, right? That sinister laugh there, Jameson. On December 16th, 2004, Darlene was invited over to Stinnett's house, either for something related to the dogs or their shared pregnancy. Once inside the home, Darlene murdered Stinnett by strangulation.
What?
Darlene literally then cut Stinnett's unborn child from her womb.
No. Oh, God.
Oh,
She cut her baby from her womb and fled the scene. There were no signs of forced entry, so authorities believe that someone posing as a customer, calling herself Darlene Fisher, had arranged to visit her home that day. It is known that Stinnett was expecting the arrival of prospective buyers for the terriers in her home at about the time of her murder.
whoa.
I know, right? That took a turn fast. I didn't keep you in too much
That
suspense.
really, whoa. All right, we're twisting.
So on the afternoon of December 16th, that same day, that afternoon, Becky Harper, which is the mother of Bobbi Jo Stinnett, went to visit her daughter. She found the door unlocked, but that wasn't uncommon in a small town like Skidmore, which only had a population of about 250 people.
Oh, wow.
However, Becky did sense something was amiss when Bobbi Jo, who ran a small business, ran this business from her home, didn't greet her at the door. Her mother let herself in and found her daughter lying on the dining room floor in a pool of her own blood. At
That's horrible.
approximately 3 p.m., she calls 911, and she described her daughter's state as, quote, "It's like something exploded or something. There's blood everywhere."
Oh.
To anyone who had witnessed the scene, police or what have you, it was clear that most of Bobbi Jo's bleeding came from her stomach, which had very obviously been cut open.
So horrific.
Paramedics arrived, but they were unable to revive her, obviously. And they believed that she was already dead by the time her mother had discovered her body.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, no kidding.
So Darlene Fisher wasn't really Darlene Fisher. Her real name was Lisa Marie Montgomery, and she was born on February 27th, 1968. Montgomery resided in Melverne, Kansas at the time of the murder. Now, her mother was an alcoholic, and her addiction led to Lisa being born with permanent brain damage.
Ugh.
She was raised in a physically, emotionally, and sexually abusive home where she was allegedly raped by her stepfather and his friends.
Oh, God.
And beaten from the age of 11 forward.
Oh, my God.
And Lisa started, she started drinking at 14 as like a mental escape from all this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when Montgomery was 14, her mother discovered that she was using alcohol and basically reacted by threatening her daughter with a gun.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Montgomery tried to get out of this situation by marrying young at the age of 18, but both her first and her second marriages resulted in further abusive situations.
Horrific.
She just can't escape. Oh my God.
Yeah. So Montgomery would have 4 children before she went through or underwent a tubal ligation in 1990. Basically has her tubes tied, can't have any more kids. But she would falsely claim to be pregnant several times after the procedure had been done.
Wow. She's a manipulator, huh?
She's she's out of her head. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the time of her arrest, it was speculated that Montgomery's motivation stemmed from a miscarriage that she had suffered and subsequently concealed from her family. But
Oh.
that's unfounded based on the fact that it's been 14 years since she had the tubal ligation.
Right.
So further possibilities surrounding her motives were raised following speculation that her former husband planned to reveal that she had lied about being pregnant in an effort to get custody of her other children.
Ooh.
Yeah, so this is where it's all conjumbled in her own psychoses.
So like what they're saying is basically that she was trying to steal the baby.
Oh, we're gonna get to that, but yes, we're gonna get to that. She stole the baby.
Yeah, right.
And she called and we're gonna get to this, but the beginning of the episode when I said the husband got a call and he had to pick up his wife and newborn baby from a Long John Silver's. That's
Right.
Montgomery with Stinnett's baby.
Oh dear
Okay.
God.
Oh, you know what I missed? We never talked about whether the baby survived or not. Okay. Yeah, the baby survived this.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that part yet. Yes.
Sorry.
It's
That was
okay.
actually going to be one of my next
As
questions.
per usual.
Yo,
It's all right. This is what happens when I tease you guys. This might even be a conjumbled mess for the listeners, so we're going to apologize. So it is speculated that Montgomery needed to produce a baby to counter her ex-husband's charges of her habitual lying about being pregnant. So that's part of where we think her motivation comes in. So
that's
as I
just
said,
sick.
she had called her husband Kevin on that same day at 5:15 p.m., saying that while shopping in Topeka, she had gone into labor and had given birth, but she wasn't at the hospital. She was at the Long John Silver's, which anyone would find strange.
Yep.
Now, there are reports that her husband Kevin actually was confused every time she said she was pregnant because she was saying that she was many months along, but he couldn't see any signs of her actually being pregnant. Like her stomach's not big. So he also didn't really know much about it, and he worked opposite shifts, so they didn't see enough of each other, so he just took her at her word.
Well, that's dumb.
Right.
So investigators began searching Bobbi Jo's online messaging history, and that's where they found the email from Darlene. When they traced the IP address back to the sender, it led them to the home of Lisa and Kevin Montgomery, who lived in Kansas, but not someone named Darlene. So authorities drove to the neighboring state to question the Montgomerys to see what they knew about Darlene Fisher, right? Because at this point, they're obviously not making that connection. Why would they?
Right.
So they needed any information they could get, especially if it led to the whereabouts of the baby that had been taken out of Bobbi Jo and Darlene. When they arrived at the Montgomery residence, they noticed a Toyota that matched descriptions they had gotten from a vehicle seen at Stinnett's home. When they knocked on the door, Lisa Montgomery answered, holding a newborn baby in her arms, and invited the investigators inside.
Jesus Christ.
The officers very quickly noticed that the baby looked like it may have been premature because Stinnett was only 8 months pregnant when this woman did this.
Ooh.
And the baby itself had small wounds on its face, like little cut marks on its face.
Oh, God.
Correct. So what were the odds that Lisa would be sitting have her own newborn baby and one that looked premature with lacerations on its face? For the record on the lacerations on its face, it's because she didn't know what she was doing when she cut the baby out of the womb.
This is horrific.
Sorry.
You know, that's what we're here to do.
So yeah, basically, if you weren't a medical professional trying to remove a baby via C-section, you're gonna hurt the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Montgomery did. Montgomery tried to claim that she had just given birth to the baby, but she couldn't produce any paperwork to verify it, obviously.
Naturally.
Right? And you think, like, realistically, and this happened to my friend who gave birth on the side of the road, you then go to the hospital and you have both yourself and the baby checked out so you can get the paperwork.
Right.
Yeah, no kidding.
Announce the birth.
Right? Something. You don't just be like, okay, I'm just going to go home. And ironically, we had covered something like this in the Israel Keyes episode where he had, I think, 7 or 8 siblings, and they were all home births, and none of them had social security numbers or birth certificates.
Right? Yeah.
So that's crazy shit right there too. So at this point, investigators are on to Montgomery. It's an obvious red flag, and none of her stories were adding up. So basically, their investigation just took a major turn, and they're no longer searching for Darlene Fisher because obviously she's not a real person. And they were actually quite shocked to realize they were probably talking to the actual killer of Bobbi Jo Stinnett. Montgomery was arrested an hour later, basically after her story fell apart, and she very quickly confessed.
Okay, interesting.
I was really thinking she was going to come up with some other twist on her story.
No, she just confessed.
Wow.
Yeah. So the kidnapped newborn was recovered and soon placed in custody with her biological father. And I can't imagine how Kevin Montgomery must have felt.
Oh my God, he must have been feeling all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
You know, thinking that your wife just gave birth and you finally have a baby of your own, and nope. Not only do you not have a baby of your own, but your wife is going to jail for fucking murdering somebody to get the baby. Crazy.
literally bad shit.
So the quick recovery and capture was attributed to the use of the forensics computer investigators, which tracked Montgomery and Sinnett's online communication. The investigation was aided by the issuance of an Amber Alert to enlist the public's help.
Oh.
But this alert was initially denied because it had never been used before in the case of an unborn child.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I guess that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. And literally because there's no description. You don't know what the baby looks like.
Literally searching for baby.
Yeah, right. Just premature looking baby, as if most of us would know what that looked like.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the first of its kind in that regards.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah, and it actually took the intervention of a congressman named Sam Graves to actually get that alert out there. Like, it wasn't going to happen without that intervention.
Right. It's like, when does that come up? That's so rare. You have to wow, that's crazy.
There's actually one more case of something like this that I'm aware of where some pregnant woman was abducted for her baby, but the woman that abducted her couldn't, every time she tried to get up the nerve to cut her open and take the baby, she couldn't do it. But this woman, the pregnant woman, was held for days.
Horrifying.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And in fact, she ended up, she kept passing out from all the blood loss and the pain. And she would wake up and not know how much time had passed and was always surprised to find that she was still pregnant and everything. And eventually the other woman had fallen asleep long enough for her to get out of the apartment and into a hallway where when the woman did wake up and try to take her back, she was able to make enough noise to get neighbors' attention. That case was crazy. Back to this one, though.
Anyway,
yes. So DNA testing had to be used, obviously, to confirm the infant's identity, because at that point, you don't know what the fuck's going on. And Montgomery was charged with the federal offense of kidnapping resulting in death, which was established by the Federal Kidnapping Act of 1932. So wow. I know she wasn't charged with murder. She was actually charged with kidnapping that resulted in a death, which I think is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you, especially because you're kidnapping an unborn baby, did you really think that the woman was going to survive that?
Right. She can't have possibly thought that.
Right. And I don't know because I can't remember if I put it in here, but she tried to strangle her. I did say strangulation. She strangled her. And there's some that believe that she wasn't even dead until she cut the baby out. Yeah. Brutal. And I can't imagine, I know we're getting off on tangents instead of talking about the trial, but can you imagine being pregnant and all of a sudden someone is strangling you?
No way. Absolutely not.
Yeah. All the thoughts that would go through your head on that would fuck me up.
Yeah. So
if convicted, Montgomery would face the sentence of life imprisonment or the death penalty.
Oh.
At a pre-trial hearing, a neuropsychologist testified that head injuries which Montgomery had sustained some years before could have damaged the part of her brain that controls aggression. So they're taking every possible option to basically keep her from being found criminally liable, I think.
Right, of course, the lawyers are like doing
Are they
everything.
gonna pull the insanity plea or the?
Just you wait, sir.
Oh my God, no!
Oh, the tease.
Let's just blame everything on past trauma. Yeah, because that makes it okay.
So during her trial in federal court, her defense attorneys, led by Frederick, oh my God, saying this is going to be holy shit. It's spelled so strangely. It's probably not that hard. Frederick Ducart, asserted that she had pseudocyesis, a mental condition that caused a woman to falsely believe she is pregnant and exhibit outward signs of pregnancy. Actually, we had talked about this as a phantom pregnancy before.
Yeah.
So this apparently is the correct word, pseudocyesis.
Oh, yeah, the actual medical word, yeah.
According to The Guardian, which is a newspaper, Ducart attempted to follow this line of defense only 1 week before the trial began. After being forced to abandon that, he started a contradictory argument that Stinnett was murdered by Montgomery's brother, Tommy, but he had an alibi.
How does he get involved or thrown in there? What?
I don't know. Even... Literally, her defense attorney is literally basically saying, well, she has this mental defect and this is what she was doing. And then once he realizes that's not working, he completely turns it around and says, oh, no, it wasn't her. It was her brother.
Insane.
Right. But as a result...
public defender? Probably.
Probably, yeah. So as a result of this, her entire family basically decided to stop cooperating with her lawyer.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And they would go on to describe her background to the jury, which we've kind of covered a little bit of.
Is there a lot more that goes into that? Is there we don't know?
Don't you worry. We're going to cover some things. So there are a couple doctors that gave expert testimony that Montgomery had pseudocyesis in addition to depression, borderline personality disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. One of the doctors testified that Montgomery's stories about her actions fluctuated. This is where we're going from thinking she's pregnant to her brother being the killer. This is what they're using to try to defend that they fluctuated because of her delusional state, that she was unable to dictate the nature and quality of what she was doing.
There's the insanity plea.
Uh-huh.
This case is taking your breath away, isn't it?
It really is. And you should have seen me when I was researching this. I was like, holy shit. So both federal prosecutors, Roseanne Ketchmark and the opposing expert witness, their forensic psychiatrist named Park Dietz, strongly disagreed with the diagnosis of pseudocyesis.
Interesting.
So on October 22nd, 2007, jurors found Montgomery guilty, rejecting every one of the defense's claims about her being delusional or anything else.
Whoa.
Good.
Yeah. So 4 days later, on October 26th, the jury recommended that she be put to death.
Whoa. Wow. You don't see that much in a jury. Wow.
Especially, I hate to say it this way, especially with a woman. It's much rarer to see a woman get sentenced to death.
Yeah. And rare these days.
So Judge Gary Fenner formally sentenced Montgomery to death on April 4th, 2008. Her lawyer's pseudocyesis defense, Montgomery's past trauma, and separate diagnosis of mental health were not fully revealed until after her conviction. So there were things that were kept out for some reason, and it wasn't until after that it started to come out publicly.
Whoa.
So this led a journalist to actually come out and argue for the defense's argument.
Whoa.
And he basically said that her lawyer was incompetent for somehow allowing that to be withheld.
Right, for real.
They even went so far as to say that the judge was required to allow certain cross-examinations that didn't happen. And of course,
shit, they're really digging up this case.
Yeah, but her defense attorney claimed that he basically rejected all that criticism and defended his own conduct. He was like, nope, I did everything the best I could. He's basically trying to say I'm not responsible for this.
Right, right, right.
The appeal for this was then sent up to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Wow.
And on March 19th, 2012, they denied her petition.
Whoa.
Montgomery was incarcerated at the Federal Medical Center in Fort Worth, Texas, where she remained until she was transferred to the site of her execution. For a very long time, she was the only woman with a federal death sentence at that location.
Whoa.
During her appeals, her lawyers argued that she technically did not commit the crime of kidnapping resulting in death, claiming that Stinnett, the baby, was not considered a person until she was removed from her mother's womb.
Wait, what? So
Yeah.
how is that still like kidnapping? Is it because then the baby's abandoned, quote unquote?
No, so basically taking the baby out of Bobbi Jo wasn't a kidnapping. So her death was not the result of a kidnapping.
This is just like a technicality in how sentencing is.
Correct.
That's
so
semantics at its finest.
Yeah, so they're basically claiming that Bobbi Jo Stinnett had died beforehand, so therefore it wasn't a crime of death resulting from a kidnapping.
It was just murder and kidnapping?
That's which doesn't make any sense, right?
It doesn't make anything less.
Is that less jail time?
I just think they were trying to get a retrial is what I think was happening.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, just so for the record, her baby survived, and her name is Victoria Jo Stinnett. That's why just a moment ago I had a brief moment of like, wait, what am I reading? Because I saw Victoria Jo Stinnett, and I was a little confused of myself, and then I was like, oh, that's the daughter.
Okay, well, I'm glad to know that she's alive.
Yeah, she made it. The baby made it amazingly.
Yep.
So this claim of she died before the kidnapping, therefore that their charge couldn't stick, that was completely dismissed.
Yep.
With the courts going so far as to saying that felony murder nullified that.
Yep.
And basically they said that Montgomery needed to kill Stinnett regardless in order to complete a kidnapping, whether it was considered a kidnapping in the first moment or in the second moment.
True.
So just everything you guys were
That's
just
some
saying.
real legal bullshit, for real.
Yeah, that's like the world's worst loophole attempt ever.
Yeah, that sucks. Whoever was pushing for that, they suck.
Yeah, they need to really rethink their lives,
For real.
So experts who examined Montgomery after her conviction concluded that at the time of the crime, she had long been living with psychosis, bipolar disorder, and PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
She was said that she often disassociated from reality and had permanent brain damage from numerous beatings at the hands of both her parents and spouses.
Oh.
So all this is coming up. Basically now at this point, they're trying to get her off death row. And they're trying to pull everything they can to get her off death row.
So why didn't they pull all this before?
I think this is because this is a new set of lawyers.
That's okay. Sure.
It's
Or
not
did they say like it wasn't necessarily available then?
Well, I think they fired the first one because, I mean, he's the one who's saying, I did everything right. It's not my fault she got the death penalty. I think they got away from that guy.
Gotcha.
So now her new lawyers and her family, everyone's coming out to try to help her because all that information that her original lawyer let not be presented to the court is coming up. But no one's, at this point, still no one's really listening. There's a case of Atkins versus Virginia that ruled that executing individuals with intellectual disability violates the 8th Amendment of the Constitution regarding cruel and unusual punishments.
Damn.
So giving this ruling, it could be expected that Montgomery was ineligible for the death sentence. This is the next line of argument they're taking. So there was very strong and undisputed evidence that could lead to a withdrawal of her death sentence and basically a new trial, like a further inquiry into it.
Oh my God, that's fucking insane.
However, Montgomery was scheduled for execution on December 8th, 2020 by lethal injection at the U.S. Penitentiary in Terre Haute, Indiana, but that was delayed following her attorney contracting COVID-19.
Oh my God.
Shut the hell up.
Oh, what? No.
Yeah. So on December 23rd, 2020, Montgomery was given a new execution date of January 12th, 2021. U.S. District Court Judge Randolph Moss found that the director's orders setting a new execution date while the court's stay was in effect was not in accordance with the law.
Whoa.
So it basically, it was prohibited scheduling any execution before January 1st of 2022. So there was a whole argument now based on COVID restrictions and what they could do. And it's just really bizarre that it was like, you can't do it this year, you have to wait until next year kind of thing, which I think is really weird.
You know, it also feels really weird how recent this is. I don't know if it feels weird for y'all, but
you'd think that this would have happened many decades ago. But yeah,
I know. It's just like, but I guess when did the crime happen? The crime happened like
2016, 2014. Yeah.
2014. Okay, I lost track of the timeline there a little bit. Okay, I guess that makes sense. God, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, you kept assuming this was the 80s.
No, because you said they were born in the 80s. And so then my brain, we got a little confused with the math. It's fine.
It's okay. I mean, I can't even make heads or tails of my notes sometimes. So you're all right.
Mood.
On January 1st, 2022, a 3-judge panel on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit vacated that judge's ruling, effectively reinstating her execution date for January 12th. Sorry. So that they did that on January 1st, 2021, not 2022.
Okay,
that was my fault. So they basically said, nope, she's being executed on January 12th. She doesn't have to wait until 2022. On that date, federal judge Patrick Hanlon, yet another federal judge that's getting involved, granted a stay of execution.
Oh my God.
On the grounds,
wild.
on the grounds that her mental competence must first be tested, as if it could, because it could be argued that she didn't understand the grounds for her execution per the 8th Amendment.
You're out of your mind. There you go.
Well, you can't kill someone who's crazy like that. Like if they don't understand right from wrong, you can't execute them.
After the heinous stuff that she did, there's got to be some kind of understanding there. I'm not buying it.
Have you listened to the Greyhound murder case that we covered?
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, that ends even worse than this one.
I know. I think it's a cop-out.
So her stay of execution was presented to the Supreme Court, and it was then vacated by a 6-3 vote. The execution was then ordered to be carried out immediately.
Whoa.
So she arrived at Terre Haute's death row on January 12th, and she was executed by lethal injection on January 13th, 2021, at the United States Penitentiary in Terre Haute, Indiana. When asked if she had any last words, she replied simply, no. She was pronounced dead at 1:31 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Montgomery became the first female federal prisoner executed in 67 years.
Whoa.
Wow.
She was the first woman executed in the United States since Kelly Gissander in 2015.
Good job.
I know, that was a rough one. Gssendaner. That was a Descendaner. That's a rough one.
We need a spell cam. We need a little sound effect every time you can't finish a word.
Right? That'd be funny.
We'll do a full episode on just pronouncing names.
It's brutal, man. I'm glad, I listen to some of these podcasts who have Patreons, and they thank all the new patrons every month or every week or whatever. And I listen to how rough it is for them to say people's last names, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. So only 3 other women have been executed by the U.S. federal government. Mary Surratt by hanging in 1865, Ethel Rosenberg by the electric chair in 1953, and Bonnie Heady by gas chamber also in 1953.
A what?
A gas chamber? Holy
That was
crap.
an execution method?
Yeah, you basically, it says gas.
I know how it works.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, that was
that was a thing.
a thing.
In the 50s.
Yeah, in the 50s.
Wild.
Yeah, fuck that.
It's
I
insane
hate
with the
it.
jump, though. You go from the 1800s to the 50s. It's like, wow, that's a long time between each of them.
Montgomery's execution was followed a day later by someone named Corey Johnson. And 3 days after that, someone by the name of Dustin Higgs. These were the last three executions under the presidency of Donald Trump. Now, the interesting thing about this, which we're going to get into, is that Joe Biden had promised to enact a moratorium on capital punishment at the federal level.
Whoa.
So one of the reasons all these people were working to keep delaying her execution was they were hoping that Trump would lose the election, which he did, and Biden would get elected, and that way they could then appeal again to have her death sentence overturned since it was a federal offense. But they executed her before Trump left office.
Wow.
Yep.
That is crazy.
So there's a BBC reporter named Jessica Lusenhop. She stated that the Skidmore residents of her town actually supported her execution.
Whoa.
And it's also reported that Montgomery kept a calendar and marked down the days leading up to Joe Biden's inauguration.
Oh, jeez.
So even she hung her hat on that happening.
Wow. That's crazy.
Right? I mean, if there's like, to me, that's just like, this is it. This is my last shot. I guess I have to. It's almost like she's trying to put out the positive thoughts into the universe kind of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, that didn't go her way.
Yeah. Still fucking crazy that they're like trying to claim she's, out of her mind. And I don't know.
I mean, she was out of her mind, but not in the way that was going to save her.
Right.
You know? So her own daughter, Kayla Bowman, had this to say, quote, "I guess you could say I never had doubt that my mom had done it, but it was hard to believe, There I was the whole day at school. Look at my little sister. And then the next thing I hear is that she's not really my little sister," unquote.
Whoa.
Can you imagine? To me, that blows my mind. Like, I don't know how young her daughter was at that point, but she's in school, probably showing other kids on her phone, like, oh, this is my little sister. Nope, my mom murdered someone to get this baby.
That's holy shit.
So her first husband, Carl Bowman, he basically came out and said that he was saddened but not surprised by his ex-wife's behavior. He said that she had a history of claiming fake pregnancies and, quote, "It wasn't really about having kids and having a fake pregnancy. It wasn't the fact that she was trying to give her new husband a child. That wasn't the point of it," he said. "It was the attention. That's what she enjoyed."
Ooh.
Everyone in her life had really bad things to say about her. And
Sounds like it.
But her husband, Kevin, the person we spoke about at the very top of this episode, he stayed married to her all the way up until her execution.
What the fuck?
I can't imagine. But I mean,
Was
then again,
he in the right state of mind? Did he have issues?
No, he just said he didn't realize she wasn't really pregnant. But you'd think you'd have a lot of questions when you're told to go to a Long John Silver's to pick up your newborn baby.
You would really think so, wouldn't ya?
I mean, maybe in Missouri, their educational system isn't so good that you know the difference between where a baby should be born.
Who knows?
Just the fact that, again, even if you had a baby in the bathroom at a Long John Silver's, why wouldn't you then be right? Why wouldn't you then be going to the hospital? Like, that's the part that should have been a million red flags for her husband.
You ask a good question there.
I mean, if I give birth in a Long John Silver's bathroom, I'm going to the hospital.
Yeah, is that what you would do?
I would, because I'm not going to lie. I would, first off, I would be real. I guess I would have to cut it out of me because I can't imagine it coming out any other way.
Oh, God.
But yeah. So with the exception of this last thing, that's it. Basically, Victoria Jo Stinnett is healthy and thriving to this day. I did try to look up some information on her, but they are trying to keep things very private. And interestingly, she does have an Instagram account. But when you log into it, it says, if we don't know you and you send us a friend request, you will be blocked. So clearly,
okay.
Yeah, that perfectly makes sense. And, she deserves her privacy. but I'm sure the
Absolutely.
harassment, yeah, I'm sure the harassment in this area is probably huge. Like she probably can't enjoy any social media platform
Yeah,
without,
no way.
yeah, without some kind of fake name or something. So yeah, that is the crazy case of Bobbi Jo Stinnett and Lisa Marie Montgomery. Thoughts?
That was gory and horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Aren't you
that's
glad it was short?
yeah, honestly, yeah. Although you really managed to pack in some real horrific shit in a really small amount of time, which I have to applaud you for.
And I hit you with it fast, which is why at the end it's more courtroom drama than it is, horror
Yeah,
movie.
you really came
Yeah, we
out like
definitely went from 0 to 100 real quick. We're like, and this is what we're doing, and bam, there it is.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm not gonna lie.
You
Your
love playing with
reactions
our
to it,
emotions, don't you?
your
Don't you?
reactions were definitely the best part of that.
hell yeah.
But I remember the first time when I started researching it, I heard someone say something about unborn abductions or something. And I was like, what? And I looked it up and there were those two cases that I found that I was tossing between, but the other one, no one died. So since we do
Oh wow.
murders here, yeah. So since we do murders, I was like, well, I guess we're doing this one. And as I was sort of organizing it in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna so fuck with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm glad it was both of you and not just one of you this time.
Oh
Yeah.
God, no, it would have been so much worse.
Yeah, it would have. So yeah, final thoughts on that, guys?
Absolute insanity. I can't believe that it wrapped up as quick as it did, as far as the confession and as far as finding her. It was really crazy that they found so many loopholes and so many reasons to stay the execution. Once again, I am a firm believer that the insanity and the not in her right state of mind at all is a crock of shit. And even if it wasn't, I believe that something that heinous, just you can't look the other way. You
All
just
right.
can't. And so, I'm glad the baby survived. I'm glad that she's thriving. It really sucks that she's gonna be, blacklisted for her life, but it could have been a doubly worse story and she couldn't have survived. So I guess we find some kind of glimmer of hope in this tragedy, I guess.
I mean, yeah, it sucks that Bobby Joe died, but it's great that Victoria Joe's alive.
Yeah. I hope she lives a life full of peace as much as possible.
Yeah, she deserves at least that. I mean, she was
Absolutely.
brought in a very horrific way.
How many people have their mother die before they're born? That's rare.
Not only that, but with all the attention, because there are other people doing podcasts about this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I wonder how many she's going to be. Like that was 2014. She's 10.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So she's younger than I thought. I was going to say when she gets older and starts dating boys, you got to wonder, or girls, you got to wonder what her significant other will ask her about if they're even aware of it.
I wouldn't be surprised if uses a totally different name, is in witness protection or whatever. Would
Well,
only
maybe,
talk about it with a partner she's like very close with.
yeah, maybe. It's tough to say because from what I can tell, like I said, I looked up that Instagram. Although now that I realize she's only 10 years old, I'm gonna type it in right now. Now that I realize how young she is, I'm wondering how valid that Instagram is.
Right. I mean, the children do be having Instagrams these days, but it might be an account that's mostly run by her parent.
Could be.
Yeah.
So it literally says, leave us alone. All unknown friend requests will be blocked. We are pursuing legal action on anyone who harasses me, my dad, and my friends. It just seems weird. I thought she was a teenager.
Right.
Yeah, she's only 10. So that may not actually be her. That may be some asshole pretending to be her.
Yeah. Either way, we stay away and we leave them alone.
Yes, their whole family deserves the privacy. So.
Mm-hmm.
Although to be fair, I guess if we really wanted to look up her father, the name Zeb isn't going to be that hard to find.
No, not at all.
True.
So, yeah. So that's that. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Very fast episode. Probably our shortest yet.
Still packs a punch.
It really does. Yeah. That was a rough one. I'm sorry, guys.
No, I mean, we say it every time.
Every week.
We still come back for more.
Yes, we do. And believe me, you've seen my list. I've got like 50 more to go.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. It's incredible and
I keep looking up new ones every day.
never-ending content, guys. And if you guys want to suggest a case or if you guys want to interact with us, we have our Instagram and we have our Facebook. And
Yes.
Janus, I believe we do have an email. Yes.
Yes, it's unsungmurderballads@outlook.com. So email us, let us know what your thoughts are. Let it, like, comment, subscribe, as Joyous always says. Although it's
Yes.
kind of, yeah, like download, that's always a good thing.
Download the playlist.
Exactly. Give us your feedback. That's more than anything else what we really want to know. We want to know what else we can do to make you guys, listen more and make you happy. So if you've got cases you want us to talk about, let us know. All right. So that will wrap up episode 21. I am Janus Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.